guys, this week we're going to be talking about the different psychological therapies. There are two main types. The first one is called psychotherapy. Psychotherapy isn't for someone we consider psycho. It is for people with mental disorders where they can go talk to a psychological professional about their problems. Next, we have biomedical therapies. This is a type of therapy for people with mental disorders where they have a problem and it is treated with biological or medical methods to relieve their symptoms. Under these two main types of therapies, there are many different approaches that can be taken. The first we're going to talk about is the psychodynamic approach. The main idea behind this approach is really just to bring your unconscious thoughts and feelings to your conscious. A big part of this approach was Freud's theory of psychoanalysis, where the goal was to release these feelings and thoughts in your unconscious to take power away from them and controlling your conscience. So within the psychodynamic approach, other than psychoanalysis, there's a few other things that different types of therapists will use. One of them is dream interpretation, where the patient will talk about their dreams and the therapist will try to find any hidden content within the dream to see if there's maybe certain symbols that represent something else in their life. They'll also use a technique called free association, and this kind of goes along with psychoanalysis, and it's where the patient will be encouraged to just talk about anything that comes to their mind, the first thing they think of, and not expect any sort of negative feedback from the therapist. And now here's a short little video about psychotherapy.
How you doing?
That's how you start a psychotherapy session. How am I doing? I was promised a riverboat journey into the jungles of my subconscious. Instead, I get the same question I hear from the lady who slices my bologna at Ralph's.
I'm sorry, I'll start again.
Would it be helpful to you if I told you about my dreams?
I don't know, maybe.
I recently had a dream that I was a giant, but everything around me was to scale, so it all looked normal.
How did you know you were a giant if everything was to scale?
I was wearing size 1,000,000 pants.
Why don't we just talk?
The talking cure, classical Freudian, good choice. If it will help speed things along, my answers to the standard Rorschach ink blot test are A, a bat, B, a bat, C, a bat, and D, my father killing my mother with a hypodermic needle.
Why don't I just start? Sometimes people have trouble accepting accolades if, on a subconscious level, they don't feel they deserve them. Do you think maybe that's what's happening here?
Really, Leonard? You just going to try to recycle Adler's doctrine of the inferiority complex? I could probably get that from the woman at Ralph's. And she'd let me taste some pieces of cheese for free.
Next, we're going to talk about the humanistic approach. Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow were the two who contributed most of their ideas to the humanistic approach. Maslow's pyramid, leading to self-actualization, was another big contributor to the creation of the humanistic approach. The main idea behind this approach is that people have control over their own behavior and that we can make choices about our life and we are responsible for solving our own problems and creating our own outcomes. The next approach we have is called the behavioral approach, and this is built on the basic processes of learning, such as reinforcement, extinction, classical, and operant conditioning. It also uses techniques like aversion therapy, systematic desensitization, and exposure treatment. The next approach is called the cognitive approach, and this is to teach people to think in more adaptive ways by changing their cognitions about the world and themselves. It uses techniques such as irrational emotive behavioral therapy, mixed cognitive therapy, and a cognitive approval. So along with all these different approaches, there are also many different forms that therapy can take shape in. One form of therapy is called interpersonal therapy, and this is a short-term therapy that focuses on context of current social relationships. Then there's also group therapy and family therapy, and also self-help therapy. And that's kind of where a person tries to analyze their own thoughts and feelings and use things such as self-help books to figure out their problem.
Oh hey, I didn't see you there. Are you a broke college student like me? Well, sometimes I get way too many thoughts running through my head, especially with all of the school stress. You know, these exams, midterms, finals, LSAT, MCAT, you name it. Oh my goodness, I cannot. Well, sometimes instead of consulting a therapist for my own personal problems, I like to analyze my own thoughts. And the best way that I like to do this is by reading these self-help books, including ones about making friends, about love and romance, about the power of positive thinking, and just being a psycho.
So now we're going to talk a little bit more about biomedical therapies, and this is basically just biological approaches to mental disorders. So they include the use of different drugs and prescriptions, like antipsychotic drugs, antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, and mood stabilizers.
I've just been struggling with anxiety a lot lately, and I just don't know what to do.
Why don't we try a biomedical approach? So since you have anxiety, I'm going to prescribe you 2 of these a day, Xanax, and try that out and see how you like it first, and then come back to me and talk to me later.
There are also different options for people who maybe have a more severe mental illness or the drugs just don't work for them. You can try electroconvulsive therapy, and this is where electric currents are sent to the brain. And there's also transcranial magnetic stimulation, and this is just when magnetic pulses are directed to the specific area of the brain, and it helps activate different types of neurons.
NeuroStar TMS takes a different approach, exploiting the fact that neurons are electrochemical cells. It uses a targeted electromagnet to produce a pattern of pulsed magnetic fields. This electric current is powerful enough to elicit an action potential in neurons, causing the release of more neurotransmitters at the synapse. In addition to these local effects, NeuroStar TMS activates deeper brain regions that lie outside the direct action of the pulsed magnetic fields. Energizing these deeper brain regions causes secondary activation of brainstem neurotransmitter centers, which stimulates other brain regions involved in mood regulation. NeuroStar TMS therapy offers a unique mechanism of action by directly depolarizing local neurons, which modulates connected deeper brain regions. This allows NeuroStar TMS therapy to affect both local and deep neural circuits, all without causing unwanted systemic side effects.
So that concludes my video on psychological therapy. So thanks guys for watching.